It's just fantastic. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or twat. You may notice this is a slightly lazier, incredibly lazier editing style. I have a horrible migraine, but I don't have the time to make this tomorrow, and I won't on Sunday because of building work. So instead we're going to do this now and hope for the best. My apologies. Regular programming will resume on Monday, I promise. So to start, we're going to go with what happened last week and has been the focal point of much media coverage in the United Kingdom. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, passed away at the age of 99. It was a big deal in this country for good reasons. I don't mind if you're pro or anti-monarchy. I really don't. But the fact is, he passed away. It's a big thing for the United Kingdom. While we don't need a monarchy anymore, they are very much a part of our culture, and that is why they are there. I'm not, for the sake of it, going to talk about the pros and cons on Twitter about that because it got incredibly toxic. But also a lot of it was very funny. One person did point out, and then everyone else pointed out, when he turned 100, if he managed to get there, he would have gotten his first ever birthday card from his wife. It is in the United Kingdom a custom that when you hit 100, the Queen of England will send you a birthday card. The former leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, not long after the announcement of the Duke of Edinburgh passing away, tweeted this out. Now this tweet has since been deleted, with him being seen by many as taking the side of Bolivia in favour of his own country. He has of course gone on to delete the tweet as I mentioned and put out this instead, which has a thinly veiled remark there that I don't think many pointed out or noticed. And while it seems a tad inconsequential, to say "and all who loved him" is a nice little way of saying, "not me though," which is fine. It really is. It's not like he's ever going to be on the front benches ever again. But if you do, Jeremy Corbyn, have someone run your Twitter account for you, might I recommend you get someone that understands optics. It's not good optics for the Workers' Party to look like they're taking a dump on the Queen. And while we're in this area, David Jason, a very famous actor in this country, was trending. And he was trending because of this quote.
Will always tell me, she's got a great sense of humour, she's a great mimic. On the occasions that you've met her, have you ever had a sense of her sense of humour, or has she always been sort of quite proper?
No, she's always been quite proper, really, to be honest. But I remember seeing an off-the-cuff piece of television where she said she was talking to a family, and she said they were talking about an ambassador that came from another country, and she said, actually, I thought that I was talking to a gorilla.
People were calling him racist for this remark, forgetting the context of it all. He was referring to an ambassador called Walter Annenberg, a white man with a short body and long arms. But we must of course now cancel him and make rather outlandish points about this under the guise of, yes, I'm not an absolute numbnut. Granted, I got a little triggered by this, but only because there's only so much stupid I can take from people making the same point that he is apparently the definition of institutionalized racism when the guy he was referencing was white. How absolutely moronic do you have to be? To move on from that onto something vastly different, I saw this courtesy of Tailed Feature, linked to his channel down below. I got a vaccine tattoo. V for vaccine, V for victory over ignorance and bigotry. I wear it with pride. That V also stands for virginity, veganism, obviously by extension, vegetable, which is what your mind must be the equivalent to, vendetta, because we're trying to be clever here, and if anyone has an alternative solution to the letter V, i.e. a word that starts with V you think he is as well, by all means, comment it down below. I'm really trying to drive my engagement up. Please help me. Next we go to something sent to me by Chairview, linked to his channel also down below. Meghan, here's one for you for this week at Twitter, lol. L Hunt, settle an argument. Is Alien a horror film? Give reasons why, please. Alien the movie was released in 1979. It was heavily promoted as a sci-fi horror movie. Therefore, is it a horror film? Yes. By the definition of what it was promoted as, back then, yes. Is it by today's standard? No, it's more sci-fi actually. Because everything shifts, things change. But I'm going by what it was when it was released. It set standards. And Sigourney Weaver is a fantastic actress. The Alien franchise was brilliant for a while. Then Prometheus came out and shat all over it. So next we're gonna go to T-Clips. Haha, get it, basement, because non-mainstream news people are basement dwellers. From now on, if news isn't coming out of someone's basement, I am not interested. Random emoji. This comes from a World Economic Forum channel with an insight and idea with Susan Wojcicki, the person who runs this site, where during a rather interesting clip, she said the following.
Have created a category of more borderline content, where sometimes we'll see people looking at content that is, or it'll be content that's lower quality and borderline. And so we want to be careful about not over recommending that. So that's a content that stays on the platform, but it's not something that we're going to recommend.
For many reasons, I get quite annoyed by this. It's the argument of authoritative voices, which is why many of us get buried when we cover certain topics, or we get strikes even when we show the source. It's why many of us have to be careful. People have been covering the Jake Paul incident, and their views have been tanked. Or they've been covering things related to COVID, directly quoting from a very much reputable source, and they get a strike anyway. This has been going on for far too long because YouTube are trying to get rid of the basement dwellers. And me, I'm not fond of this, because lots of us put in a lot of effort to try and be legitimate when it comes to anything that could come close to news commentary. But instead we are repeatedly smashed about because YouTube seem to think they need to pander more to everyone else when everyone else who's getting involved are just trying to control the site, which is exactly what it looks like, especially when those who actually control the site aren't those running the site, but the advertisers who determine what can be put on the site. To move on from that, we're going to go to two things done by Twitter. We've got one from Twitter Women. Stop interrupting women. Stop interrupting women. Stop interrupting women. Stop interrupting women. I'm done with this. I can be certain many of you interrupted women when you saw that. I think we can all agree here the jokes write themselves. And it is pretty mediocre bait. The other one comes from Twitter Safety, to seek input from users when it comes to politicians and government officials. So they want to change the policy to remain relevant to the ever-changing nature of political discourse on Twitter. The political discourse on Twitter has never changed. It is, I'm right, you're wrong, block, Now I'm going to subquote you so you can't see because I've got you blocked. If anyone gets offended by the fact I said there, you're just lucky I can't actually do the voice for that. And I'm being polite at best. It's always been screaming, screeching, argumentative, aggressive, and toxic. Always. That doesn't change anything. In fact, the only thing that has changed is those that are more right-leaning went to alternative platforms because others said, why don't you go to another platform? So when they did, people who are more left-leaning, some, decided we can't have those platforms, they can't exist, and got them shut down or buried. While I'm not overly fond of taking a side in this, silencing one side to an argument is hardly progressive. To our penultimate subject, we go to Dramatic Cripple. A feral SJW suddenly appears, what do you do? This is an audience participation one for you. Generally speaking, I don't care what someone is. But there are certain types of the more extreme SJWs where you can do something. You wait for them to introduce themselves, which can take a while, and offer them a biscuit. Bourbons are quite popular. They dip so well. Failing that, no one can say no to a hobnob. More so, to a chocolate hobnob. Before I get sucked into the subject of biscuits, because honestly that couldn't get more British if I tried, we should go to our final subject. For this, we go to Matt Jarbo, aka Mundane Flagger. I just finished hashtag Q into the Storm. If hashtag Gamergate did help lead to January 6th, and everything else in between, I am sorry for my part in it. I'm sorry for not trying harder to stop it. I'm sorry. The really fun fact about this, for those who don't know, is Mundane Matt was like the straw that broke the camel's back when it came to Gamergate even happening, because he was falsely flagged by Zoe Quinn, which propelled his channel into stardom, until he unironically was busted having flagged other channels that were critical of him. Because it turns out, he are deaf noodles. He are can't take criticism. He are a little bish. And many people in the responses, and there were a lot of responses, you got ratioed, mate, pointed this out. You are simply changing your content and your personality to appeal to a different demographic, in an attempt, no doubt, to regrow and rebrand and become reborn, renewed, as Matt Jarbo. But sadly, the internet truly is forever, and you'll always be remembered for your boulders. Anyway, as we're done, I'd like to know what you all think. Please do comment down below and smash the like button. As a final thing, I shall be streaming on the Moistonian channel tonight at 9:30 PM GMT. If I don't see you there, have a fantastic Friday and subsequent weekend. And thank you all very much for listening.